All right, it is the Sports Mashup number 60, April 20th, 2022 is the date of the episode. Quick hitters in the NBA here. The Pelicans get hot at the right time. They beat the Clippers to get the 8 seed. Important to note, Paul George was not playing for the Clippers in that game. And, of course, Kawhi not being there either. And then on the other side, Zion not being there. But also, I think you can make a case for the fact that Ingram and McCollum are perfectly fine without Zion. So it's much more important that the Clippers didn't have Paul George, or, of course, Kawhi Leonard has been out all season. But, Clippers missed the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that Paul George would have guarded Brandon Ingram. But still, Brandon Ingram is such a matchup nightmare. I mean, he's like Kevin Durant. They're both so long and lanky for being 6'11", 7 foot. It's so hard to block their shot.
Yep.
Which was a shock to your prediction. You thought Clippers were easy going to sneak in there.
I also thought Paul George was playing, but I even think if he was playing, I still think the Pelicans would have won that game probably.
Was he like a late scratch? Or
I think he was a COVID list guy, which is weird. But
Ben Simmons cleared for contact, but his return is to be determined. I'm just assuming he's not going to play this year.
Yeah, I think I'm more sure that Zion's not going to play than Simmons, but also I don't really understand what would the effect for the Nets offense be if he's there? Does it open up the floor more for Kyrie and KD? Maybe, but maybe not, because he's not a shooting threat. They're not going to guard him and worry about that. It's going to be harder for him to make plays when you're not worried about him shooting.
No, and if you have him, Kyrie, and KD, who are the other two starters?
Seth Curry and Drummond, I guess, right?
Drummond's their bench. He's their second bench or second center.
Claxton.
But I think if he comes in and starts, I think Simmons takes away Curry's spot. And then Curry becomes like Kyrie's backup, or he comes in for Simmons.
I feel like you make Simmons the primary ball handler, but he guards the 4. And then or the 3, wherever you want to put KD. So I think you go Kyrie, Curry, Durant, Simmons, Claxton, or Simmons, Durant, defensively at least.
Yeah, unless you make who's their backup point guard now?
I mean, they have Patty Mills, they have Goran Dragic, they have Cam Thomas. I mean, they got a lot of different guards.
Yeah, I was first thinking that maybe Simmons would be the backup, like the second string point guard. But you already have Dragic and Patty Mills.
I mean, if he comes back, he's going to start. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
It just determines whose spot is he taking.
He's not going to play very much time when he comes back. I wouldn't expect more than like 20 minutes out of him. But does it really matter? I just think the Celtics are better. Like the Nets, KD wasn't great in game 1. Kyrie was great. And they lost because they kind of – I mean, the Celtics made a great play to win it. But defensively, the Nets have a very big problem there.
Yeah, I think that only comes down to the Nets' big guys. If Drummond can play big and LaMarcus Aldridge can be good in his minutes he plays, if he can knock down a couple jumpers, get some time for Claxton and Drummond.
I think looking at the NBA playoffs to this point, I think I'm confident in who's going to win every single series in the East. And I'm confident in 2 teams in the West that are going to win. So I think the Heat are going to continue to beat the Hawks. I think the Celtics will beat the Nets. I think the Bucks will beat the Bulls. I think the Sixers will probably sweep the Raptors. I think Golden State might sweep Denver. I think Memphis calmed down. They came back well tonight. The only reason I say that I'm not sure about Phoenix is because of Booker's injury tonight. We're recording this, of course, Tuesday night. But that's a problem. And the Suns, I mean, I think that they'll probably still win the series, but it's going to be a lot closer. than originally expected. And Booker, I don't see him playing on Friday, but I guess we'll find out more. Then Mavs Jazz, I'm not sure about because if Luka comes back, I don't know if that makes me like them more or not. Like, I think that they could beat them without Luka. The Jazz are fraudulent. Like, there's nobody on that team that scares me. Donovan Mitchell's a good player, but he doesn't scare me.
No, and I wish Rudy Gobert like had a jumper. He doesn't ever take like a mid-range shot.
Yeah, the Jazz are not. I mean, that core's done. Like, if they lose the series,
they traded what's his name away to Portland, didn't they? Their 3-point shooter that had been there for
Joe Ingles.
Yeah,
I think he had an ACL injury anyway, but yeah, they're not it. I mean, Dallas.
Like if he was there, that series, you could probably make a point for the Jazz.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they still have Bogdanovich, who's supposed to be a 3-point shooter. Jordan Clarkson's been a very good bench piece, but it's not a team that scares anybody. I think that the West, I mean, Phoenix, Golden State, Memphis are still the three favorites. I think those are the teams that scare people. In the East, I don't really think the Sixers scare me.
Well, no, and you never know what that series could do in the next two games going to Canada with Thibault not being able to play.
Yeah, but the Raptors just aren't even close to the Sixers.
No, I'm just saying that it might not be a sweep. They might get a game there.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. We'll see. I mean,
so say if the favorites all win those, the Heat, Celtics, Bucks, Sixers. What are the matchups in the second round?
So I think it would be
they're in this order, right? 1 through 4.
Heat, Sixers, Celtics, Bucks, I think.
Yeah.
And then you would have Suns, Mavs, I guess, or is it Jazz?
No, the Mavs are ahead of the Jazz.
Okay, yeah. And then Grizzlies, Warriors, yeah. But you look at the NBA right now, I think there's maybe 4 teams that can win a championship, maybe 5. I would say if Booker is healthy, Phoenix.
Well, and what's Ja's timetable? Still undetermined?
He's playing.
But he didn't play game 1, right?
I think he did play game 1. He was limping a little bit tonight going to the bench, but he played. He's back. Luka is the one that should be worried about, I think, on the injury front at least.
And I don't know. I don't know why you would bring Zion back for possibly just at this point.
They don't need him, and I don't think they expect. They might end up shocking everybody and winning the series, but I don't think that they expect to do that. And why bring him back? The team right now is playing well.
I was saying if they bring him back Friday, he's possibly playing 3 to 4 games.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's done. But there's like 4 teams that can win a title right now. I think Phoenix, Golden State, Milwaukee. I'll say Boston over Miami.
Which
I did see him is that good.
I did see an interview. It was with Draymond Green. They were talking about most improved player, and everyone was saying Ja Morant. And Draymond was like, "I think you guys are confused on what most improved player and MVP mean, because Ja Morant should be in the MVP candidate, not in most improved." He's like, Jordan Poole should be in the most improved.
I mean, it's a fair point. Jordan Poole is a star. I mean, he's tremendous, and is the big reason why I believe in Golden State.
Did Steph play? Has he played yet?
Yeah, he was really, really good last night.
So right now you got the Heat up 2-0, Celtics up 1-0, Bucks 1-0, Sixers 2-0, Suns 1-1, Grizzlies Timberwolves 1-1. Timberwolves won game 1 of that series. Warriors 2 over the Nuggets, and then the Mavs tied it up 1-1. Which I think if the Nuggets had Murray, that could be a better series. Well,
probably, yeah.
Him and Otto Porter.
Golden State's way better, though.
No, that would be a better series if Jamal Murray and Otto Porter were playing.
I mean, we'll see how it shakes out. There's a lot to be determined. I think there's a few series that are going to go down to the wire. I think that those series are probably in the West, maybe the East if the Nets figure it out and win game 2. Let's move on to the National Football League, where we'll have a draft preview next week because the draft is next week.
I did see you added on to my Packers thing.
Yeah, I did. Very important information here. The Packers signing veteran wide receiver Sammy Watkins, 1-year deal worth up to $4 million. So I really like the move. One thing about Sammy Watkins is that if you ask somebody his age, they'd probably say like 33, but he's only 28, so he's not that old, which surprised me.
No,
And
it
he's
just seems like
productive.
it seems like he's been in the league for a long time.
Yeah, and he was a high level pick out of college.
Came out of Clemson, right?
I believe so. He's had a 1,000-yard season before. I believe Tyrod Taylor was his quarterback in Buffalo when he did that. And he played with Mahomes, played with Lamar Jackson. He's not going to play with a better quarterback than he's about to play with. So I think this will be good for him.
He was drafted by the Bills, right?
Yeah, I think he was like a top 10 pick.
And then has he only played with the Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens? Or I guess it was Bill Ravens.
He
Chiefs.
played one season with the Rams in 2017.
So what did he go from Bills there, Ravens, and then Chiefs last?
Bills, Rams, Chiefs, Ravens. So
that's right. He wasn't on the Chiefs the last year.
Yeah, he had a 1,000-yard season in 2015. He was the 4th overall pick in 2014. So,
because that's right. Because last year we were talking about when the Ravens signed him, because we were talking about how the Ravens needed receiver, and they took Sammy Watkins, and we were like, I don't know if that's the receiver we thought they were going to try getting.
Yeah, I mean, maybe higher hopes, but I mean, he's a good player. But I don't think this means the Packers are done in the receiver market. I think that with the possibility of one of those 4 receivers being traded, I mean,
he's definitely not. He's definitely not a wide receiver 1.
No, he's like probably a 2.
Because then you have Randall Cobb is the 3.
Like probably Lazard the 3, Cobb and Amari Rodgers 4 and 5, whatever you want to do with that. They still got to get a number 1. Maybe they don't get. I mean, with the quarterback and the running backs that they have, I think they could probably get away with not having a true number 1 and still win.
Yeah, because I mean, you have the Lightning and the Thunder in the backfield.
Yeah, and they have a good offensive line, and they have a quarterback who's going to elevate all of his receivers around him. So I would assume that they don't need a true number 1. I'd
almost make Lazard ahead of Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do something like that. I think that one thing they need to do is definitely get a receiver in the top 60. With one of their first 4 picks, they got to get a receiver.
And I feel like there's a lot in this draft.
There is. It's just about getting the right one. My hope is that somebody that isn't expected to fall to number 22 falls to number 22.
Yeah, I saw who you wrote, and I hate it.
I mean,
he is a hell of a receiver.
He's a stud, but it's not my number 1 guy, but we'll find out. So yeah, maybe they make a big trade. Maybe they draft one in the top 60. We'll see, but
maybe one of these next 3 that we're talking about.
Could be, yeah. So you have Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown will all skip on-field off-season programs, pretty much pushing for new contracts. Now, of these 3, okay, 2-part question. Of these 3, who do you think will get traded? And then number 2 would be, who do you think will actually get an extension? Because then there's a third option of going into the season, do they play on their same contract?
Well, surprised to add on to your thing, I'm surprised that Metcalf is not in this.
Yeah, I kind of felt
he was the other 4 we talked about last week with these guys.
I think with him, it was a situation where I feel like the media kind of created that a lot more than him doing anything. Like they just figured they traded Russell Wilson, they're going to really have DK Metcalf stay here. So I felt like that's kind of what happened there.
I almost feel like, if anything, the Seahawks would trade Lockett before they trade Metcalf.
Make a lot more sense. Yeah, he's a veteran. I mean, it'd be nice for whoever their quarterback is to have, but if you could get something for him, then you might as well do it at that point.
But I think Deebo signs back with the Niners.
It seems to be the most noise with the Deebo one, though.
I know. I could see McLaurin leaving. Because who knows, with Washington, who knows if they would want to pay him what he wants.
Yeah, that's true.
And A.J. Brown, he's so hit or miss. Like, he drops the ball so much, but then again, he's got a ex-wide receiver throwing him the ball.
So I'm going to say Debo gets traded. I'm going to say McLaurin returns with an extension, and I'm going to say A.J. Brown gets traded.
So where do you think they go?
I think A.J. Brown goes to the Jets. I think Debo goes to – man, I don't know. I'm going to say if the Packers trade for one of these three, it's going to be A.J. Brown. I'll say Debo to the Jets. So I can't think of another team that would make it a move like that at the receiver position right now, because you look at the AFC West, I don't see any of those teams making another massive move.
I could see maybe if Debo signs back, A.J. Brown stays in Tennessee, and McLaurin going to Seattle. That would be scary, but they still need a quarterback, because if you had Metcalf, McLaurin, and Tyler Lockett.
It's a lot of money at the receiver position, though, if you're giving McLaurin a new deal, and you're gonna have to give Metcalf one at some point too.
Yeah, I mean, that all depend on contract and how they space all that out. He might get a Taysom Hill deal
with fake money, Christian Kirk deal as well, kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp is looking for a deal that is fair for him and the Rams. He wants to win. Respectable move.
I mean, he should be one of the top 5 paid receivers in the league.
He should be, but some guys don't really want to be, or they want to win at all costs. Some guys want to get paid. I can't blame either side.
No,
of this thing.
He's definitely worth more money than Christian Kirk and some of these other guys have gotten big deals. But I understand that he still wants to win more rings and will take a pay cut to do it.
In terms of
every year, Mike Evans restructures his contract to make more cap space.
Yeah, so in terms of receivers in the league, I would say that there should be a contracts tier and it should be Kupp and Adams pretty much by themselves.
Okay, so A tier, top tier, you get 5 receivers. You're putting Devontae Adams,
yep,
Cooper Kupp,
yep,
and then
so I think that I would probably put, after what he did last year and the way they use him, I would put Deebo Samuel in that 5.
Which you don't know what that'll do with McDaniels leaving.
Yeah, I don't know about DeAndre Hopkins. He doesn't stay healthy. Kind of concerned about that.
And you never know with Kyler Murray because he can't see over the line.
Fair point.
Houston, DeAndre Hopkins, different story.
True. I would put him in there if he were in Houston still. But if I can't make room, I already got 3, so I need 2 more. I mean,
if I were to add another one in that group, I'm adding Mike Evans.
I would probably put him in there.
I mean, he's the only receiver in history to have his first 7 years in the league with 1,000 yards every year.
I think the problem for the public perception of Mike Evans is that he's not flashy enough for everybody, which is dumb because he puts up numbers every year.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
and he did it before Brady.
Yeah, I mean, he had 2 years with Brady, but before that, he had Winston and
which it's not that hard to put up numbers with Winston with how many times he was throwing the ball. Now, I know he threw it a lot to the other team,
and
but
then he had
the volume there was super high.
Fitzmagic for half a season. I think when he got drafted, they had Mike Glennon was his rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's right. So I just figured out my 5. Okay, so I'm gonna go Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, Justin Jefferson, and Keenan Allen. So see ya, Debo.
Yeah, and Keenan Allen is so underrated.
Yep.
I mean, him and Mike Evans are like the same. They're not flashy. but they do it. They run great routes, catch almost every ball thrown to them.
And it almost seems like the number 2 on their teams are talked about just as much. Godwin and
the only
Williams.
person you could take out of that would be Jamar Chase over Keenan Allen.
Yeah, that would be my only other, because I really like Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson might be the 3rd or 4th best receiver in the game. And I think people talk about Jamar Chase too much. I mean, Jamar Chase is great, but Justin Jefferson's better. Like, I don't know why people think otherwise.
I'll agree with that first top 5. Adams, Kupp, Evans, Jefferson, Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Next, we'll just do 2 stages. So I'm guessing we'll put Jamar Chase in that.
Hopkins is in that.
Does McLaurin go in there?
I think he's close considering who he's playing with and how good he is. I think that's a big factor. CeeDee Lamb's another guy I consider.
A couple years ago, Amari Cooper could have been in that.
Yeah, I can't put him in there now.
No, yeah.
Julio would have been in there a couple years ago, and that ship sailed.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So I think my second tier would be Debo, Jamar Chase, DeAndre Hopkins,
Tyreek
Hill, and I think I would probably go CeeDee Lamb, probably. I mean,
my only other one would be McLaurin over CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
And possibly even Lockett over Debo, just because Lockett's had a better career so far, and now you don't know what Debo will do this coming year with not having McDaniels.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough call. I think Shanahan's good, though. If Debo is there, he'll be able to figure it out.
I agree. That's just 2 that I could switch in and out in that group.
Yeah, so it's interesting. The wide receiver conversation is always big time in the NFL. So the draft conversation with wide receivers this year is going to be great too. So we'll find out how that goes.
Like we just made a list of, we used basically 12 receivers there. We didn't even talk about DK Metcalf.
Yep. AJ Brown,
Chris Godwin.
Yep. Christian Kirk, who got overpaid. That's another guy.
Allen Robinson.
Yeah, he's fallen off a little bit. What about Juju? Talk about falling off. Juju Smith-Schuster falling off.
We didn't even Waddle. I mean, he was only had 1 year.
Yeah, that's another one. Odell had a good year last year.
Yeah, I think the only thing that hinders him is injuries.
Yeah, another big one last season. Trying to think of anybody else who might have forgotten.
Like Calvin Ridley, you could have said after his rookie year and last year before he left for his insanity or whatever.
Michael Thomas.
Which one? Or no, you're talking about Saints Mike Thomas.
Yeah.
Can't guard Mike.
Yeah, he fell off. People would have called. I bet 2 or 3 years ago they would have called him the best receiver in the game.
And then what you had, Mike Williams of the Chargers, and then who was the other guy they had who went to Oakland or not to Vegas? No, do they have another Williams? At one point they had like Williams, and Keenan Allen when Philip Rivers was just firing the ball everywhere.
I do not remember that. But anyway, transition to a different receiver, I guess.
AJ Green agrees to stay with the Cards in a 1-year deal. No numbers there yet. Don't know what the contract's for.
Yeah, everyone's going to remember AJ Green's first season with Arizona for that Thursday night game against the Packers where he just stopped moving. So that's what I remember about him now.
Yeah, so now the Cards you have Hopkins, Green. Who's the dude from Purdue that they have?
Rondale Moore.
Those are their only 3 receivers now, right?
Andy Isabella is still there, I think. So,
But they lost Chase Edmonds, right? He went to Miami.
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
So now James Conner is their back.
Yep.
Which, I mean, from like week 9 on, he was the man.
Yeah, he was great.
He got dropped in my fantasy league, instantly scooped him up. The Panthers offensive coordinator McAdoo names Darnold the starter, even though they were still in talks about supposedly they were in the Baker talk. Atlanta's in the Baker talk, which I don't know why they would sign Baker, because then why'd you just bring Mariota in?
Yeah, this is a weird thing. Like McAdoo, like a minute later, said I shouldn't have said that. So very bizarre. I think they'll draft one though at 6.
And then I think this is an exciting matchup. The match, June 1st, 5:30 Central Time. Brady and Rodgers versus Mahome and Allen. 4 quarterbacks, probably the 4 of the best in the league right now.
Yeah, I think my top 5 QBs would include these 4 plus Burrow probably. I would probably order it based on the last 2 seasons with 2 and 3 is where it's hard because I think Rodgers is 1. I mean, he won both MVPs. I think Allen would be 4, Burrow would be 5, my top 5. But Brady Mahomes is like a coin flip for me. Like Mahomes was bad for a lot of last season.
Like last year, Brady would have been 2.
Yeah. And maybe the year before that, Mahomes would have been 2. So it's kind of like flip a coin. One of them beat the other one in the Super Bowl. Probably go Brady too, I guess. But
just Brady's numbers last year. But a 12-hole exhibition at the Wynn Las Vegas on the Vegas Strip. Don't know if it's going to be scramble, best ball, if it's going to be both where it's a 6-hole scramble and then a 6-hole best ball, or how they're doing it. They do have their handicaps. Rodgers is through the Wisconsin golf something. Brady is an 8.1 handicap. Rodgers is a 4.6. Allen is a 9. And I think that's from when he played in the Pro-Am at Pebble Beach. And then Mahomes is a 7.7.
So I think our guy's got a chance here. I think the short game is going to be the biggest part of this. So we saw Rodgers putt last year.
Brady and Josh Allen are already going at it on Twitter. I think it's going to be more exciting. You're going to hear a lot more in-depth football talk than when you had Brady and was it Brady and Phil, and then Rodgers and
DeChambeau.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a little more entertaining.
I'm hopefully a little disappointed it's only 12 holes.
I hope it doesn't drag out like that last one.
This is where they did the Bryson versus Brooks in November last year, and it was at this club, and it was only 12 holes. But
I think, was it at the Wynn, or was it the other one that's just off the strip?
I think it was the Wynn. And that was when Brooks dusted them. I don't even know how many holes they played. It was a 12-hole match. I think it was over by like number 8, but we'll see. Looks like our guy's got a chance, though. We'll see.
Yeah, I like it.
I do too, yes.
But yeah, the NFL draft starts next Thursday, April 28th, 7 p.m. You have a little mock draft from Peter Schrager.
Yeah, so surprising number 1 here. That's why I chose it. Defensive lineman Travon Walker out of Georgia, number 1 to Jacksonville in this mock.
I've seen this in a couple mocks because
it's one of those things where nobody expects it a month ago, and now it's starting to build.
Yeah, who was it? Oh, it was Mitt. Old Mitt from Pat McAfee show. He did this, and he explained that Jacksonville goes for more freakish athletes on the edge and everything. So that's why Walker is above Aiden Hutchinson, who Schrager has at number 2, staying in Michigan. playing for Detroit.
I mean, we'll see if that works out for them. Detroit, number 2, Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan, edge rusher. No surprisingness there. I think I just invented a word. It's late. But this is one that I think is going to happen unless Jacksonville takes him. I almost think that at this point, 1 and 2 might be interchangeable. But I don't know how Detroit feels about Walker, but he feels like a Detroit player if he falls to 2.
And this is also a mock draft where you don't know if there's going to be trades in this involved.
It's true, yeah.
I mean, we still got 8 days before this happens. Who knows, especially on Thursday, if there's going to be picks traded and everything.
Yeah, that's true. Number 3, Houston takes first offensive lineman off the board. Ike Ekwonu, great name, will be a nice pick. Some thought he could be the number 1 pick a couple months ago. Number 4, Jets get Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon, edge rusher, who people thought could have been the number 1 pick about 6 months ago. Number 5, the Giants.
What was the issue that has caused him to fall?
I just don't think he played that well last season for parts of it. And I think a lot of it has to do with people kind of surpassing him. Like Hutchinson had a huge season at Michigan, kind of surpassed him. I don't know if it's about Thibodeau falling off a little bit. Could more so be about, just players being better than him last season.
Yeah.
Number 5, Giants take offensive lineman Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. Number 6, Carolina takes quarterback Kenny Pickett out of Pitt. First quarterback off the board. I could very much see this happen. I feel like Malik Willis will be the second quarterback, and I think it's going to be Pittsburgh trading up to get him. So I think Carolina for Pickett, Pittsburgh for Willis, but we'll see. Number 7, Giants go defense with cornerback Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati, which if you would have told me a year ago that Derek Stingley Jr. would not be the first corner off the board in the 2022 draft, I'd be like, you were insane. But here we are. He didn't play last season.
Do the Giants really go defense, you think? Or do you think they try fixing their offensive line?
I mean, it has them taken offensive line number 5, so do you double up on it? I'm not so sure the Giants fan base would like that, even though they've done nothing but complain about the offensive line for the last decade. So,
well, what is Cross? Is he a guard or a tackle?
I believe he's a tackle. Which tackles are the ones that you want to take in the top 10, or you want to take an Elton Jenkins, who fell to the 3rd round and can play all 5 positions at a high level.
Or you just draft a center from a no-name college to be your center and then turn him a guard, and then he retires after 6 seasons.
Boom. Take that model. Number 8, Falcons take offensive lineman Evan Neal out of Alabama.
Which, him on the opposite side of Matthews.
Pretty good for their quarterback, Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, I mean, he should have a ton of edge protection, you would think.
Yeah, even though Matthews is starting to get up there, but still a quality tackle.
But they just gave him an extension, I think, so.
I think so. I think he's also 32 or so now, but still some time. Number 9, Seattle, I think could get – this is like a boom or bust thing. Zurich Stingley Jr., cornerback out of LSU, who had one of the greatest freshman seasons of a defensive back I've ever seen a couple years ago. Just unbelievable. Has pretty much been consensus number 1 corner in this draft up until last season, and he's a stud. Like if he stays healthy and figures it out, he could be an all-pro. Maybe not Richard Sherman level for them, but damn close.
Yeah, that year, his freshman year, which was Surtain's sophomore year, those two were 1 and 2.
Stingley was so good that season.
That matchup, the year that year they played, It was whoever Surtain's guard is not getting anything, and whoever Stingley's getting is not getting anything either.
Yeah, those were the good old days of Alabama LSU because the talent at receiver and corner was just absolutely ridiculous. You think about the receivers that were on those teams, my God. And then number 10.
Well, that was Surtain, probably Garden Jefferson.
Yeah, or Chase, one of the two. But they had him, both of them, and Terrace Marshall was very good for LSU. They had Randy Moss's kid at tight end.
Which I don't even – he was labeled as a tight end, but he wasn't really a tight end.
A receiver end.
And is he even in the league?
I think he's with Washington, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure. But speaking of Alabama receivers, number 10, Jets take Jamison Williams, receiver out of Alabama, who without the ACL is a definite number 1 receiver, I would think, in this draft. So he's a stud.
Yeah, that's the only question with him is how far he falls due to that, how close he is in his rehab.
Yeah, I mean, it makes the receiver conversation more fascinating. So
because it's him and who's their other receiver coming out?
Mechie.
Yeah, who also hurt.
Yeah, he'll probably be a second or a third round guy. Then our team's number 22 Packers, Jahan Dotson out of Penn State, receiver. I would prefer Christian Watson or Chris Olave personally.
Oh, go ahead. Let Dotson fall.
I just don't think I think Dotson's a very good player, but he literally does not fit the profile at all of what the Packers draft. So that's why I think that people that put him as the Packers pick, they aren't paying that much attention to the Packers.
And the Bucs pick he's got here for a safety doesn't make much sense with them having Winfield, Logan Ryan, and then they just signed last week Keanu Neal, who was a stud when he came out to Atlanta and then played for Dallas. So now they have 3 safeties, so I don't know why they would want to draft another one. I mean, yeah, Logan Ryan might be on his last year or two.
Yeah, I mean, Daxton Hill is a very versatile player, very good player. I don't think this would be a very good first-round pick, but what do I know? They could develop him, I guess.
I mean, I think if anything, they need to take either an edge rusher or a defensive tackle.
Take Devontae Wyatt, snipe him. That's who the Packers – he has the Packers at 28, taking Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle, out of Georgia. Just gets more guys around Kenny Clark. They've been adding those already. I don't know why I can't remember the dude's name that they signed from the Chiefs, defensive tackle. Justin Reed or Jaron? It's Jaron Reed. Yeah. So
was Wyatt the big dude who ran that?
No, that was Jordan Davis was that one. So
he's the one who's like 6'6", whatever that ran.
Yeah. Yes, that's 3 Georgia defensive linemen that are going to go in the top 30 according to this mock. Top 28, I guess. So real quick on Dotson, it's just the Packers, what they love the most about prospects, relative athletic score. And his RAS is a 5.94, which is not great. So that's something that I would think the Packers – like you look at the Packers draft picks, they always draft really high RAS guys. And Christian Watson's a 9.98. That fits the mold there. Probably a guy they love.
Well, plus Dotson's not like a tall receiver, which most wide receiver ones are.
They also drafted Amari Rodgers last season, and he had an RAS that was lower than Dotson, which is why that surprised me a little bit. He's also a smaller receiver, so I don't think they're going to go back-to-back years with using a pick on a receiver that's not like bigger, like Christian Watson, who should be the guy. But I don't know if he'll fall.
And one of the early mock drafts I saw was Dotson going to Tampa, and I was sitting there like, is he just going to try squeeze and roll in while Godwin's still recovering, or are you going Evans, Dotson, Godwin?
I would go Evans, Dotson, Godwin.
Putting 2 Penn State receivers, but then you have Brashad Perryman, Scotty Miller.
It's not the worst problem to have.
No, but it's some of those guys that have to go on the practice squad.
Yeah, that's true.
Then out of the top free agents, we had only one been signed, Stephon Gilmore to the Colts, 2 years, $23 million. Which I think was last week. You had said that he had a meeting with the Colts.
Yeah, it was pretty much felt like it was always going to happen. So makes a lot of sense.
So, I mean, the ones left still are Tyrann Mathieu, Odell, Clowney, Akeem Hicks, which I'm surprised he hasn't been signed anywhere yet. Melvin Ingram, Landon Collins, Julio Jarvis, and then still waiting to know what Gronk's going to do.
Yep, we will find out. Let's do the golf.
Last week when we had the RBC Heritage, winner was
Jordan Spieth. He's back, friend of the show. He's the third friend of the show.
Shot 13 under, won $1.4 million. Won a one-hole playoff against Patrick Cantlay. Both made pretty good tee shots. Cantlay had a better line of the pin. Both hit it short into the bunker.
And who's a better bunker player? It's always how it goes.
Steve hit one close. Cantlay's was also buried.
Don't hit in the bunker next time, Patrick. So this is 2 years in a row of Jordan Spieth winning on Easter.
And next year's
he's going to win the Masters next year.
I'd say next year's is Augusta.
So congrats to Jordan Spieth, second green jacket coming up next year. But either way, it's great to see Spieth back. Like, the sport's better when he's good. He was supposed to be the next big thing. And he's still, like, people can say what happened to Spieth. He still won a lot of stuff. Like, he's got, I think, 13 plus tour wins, which is like, at that age and that many starts, he's like in the same company with Rory and Jack Nicklaus and all those, all-time greats. He's got 3 majors. I mean, he's done a good job for himself. But it's nice to see him back in the winner's circle, especially the week after missing the cut at Augusta.
Yeah, which he said that hurt him, and he came and practiced leading into this tournament.
His putting in this tournament was not good. So the fact that he won a tournament.
He even said, I don't know how I won this because I didn't have a putter the entire tournament.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he won this while putting that badly gives us Spieth fans a lot of hope moving forward.
If that bunker shot is 5 foot further, there's another playoff hole.
I would say 2 feet further, and I'd be worried. They have a 3-footer instead of a 1-footer. That concerns me a great deal.
And Cantlay put a nice putt on his.
Yeah, gave it a go.
This weekend we have the Zurich Classic of New Orleans. Defending champions Mark Leishman and Cameron Smith. TPC Louisiana and Avondale, Louisiana. Interesting tournament.
Yep, always that way with the teams, and we'll see.
We were trying to look at it beforehand. I don't remember from last year if this is played as a scramble, as a best ball. I'm assuming it's a best ball. I don't think you could play a PJ tournament as a scramble, really.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'd be best ball for sure. But we'll see. We'll make picks on that one later.
A lot of good teams.
Yep.
That I've seen matchups.
Yep, definitely. So let's go to Major League Baseball early in the season here. Important to note, the New York Mets have the best record in the league, 9-3. They swept the Giants in a doubleheader on Tuesday, and Max Scherzer dominant in the second game 2 of the doubleheader. 6 no-hit innings for him.
Yeah, he's 3-0 to start the season.
I believe so. The Mets look good. Different manager, different feel, good signings, and they look like
they got Buck Showalter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw what was it? A mic'd up. It was when they were playing the Nationals, and it was Juan Soto and Lindor were mic'd up, and that's when Lindor took that pitch off the face, and Showalter was like, "I know you want to play, but we got to take you out and check you out."
Yeah, Lindor's bouncing back this season, so that's huge for the Mets, and we'll see.
I mean, they got a tough lineup.
Yeah, guys that do different things, kind of the opposite of the Yankees. Like, the Yankees have an entire lineup of guys that do the same thing pretty much, which is strike out, hit home runs. The Mets have power with Pete Alonso. They have speed and, solid hitting with Lindor and Starling Marte. And
I mean, the Yankees have like 5 first basemen in their lineup.
Pretty much, yeah. So there you go.
I mean, You got Gallo, Rizzo. Is Voigt still there?
No, he's with San Diego.
Well, he wanted out at the end of last year because he was complaining about playing time after they signed Rizzo.
Yeah.
And then what? Stanton's their DH, right?
I think they kind of switch off. I think sometimes he plays the field.
But then you have a potential expansion team in Nashville. Group led by Dave Stewart, preparing a bid. It'd be nice. I mean, especially if they could get a team there and maybe a team in like Indiana. I mean, because you think about professional sports in Indiana.
There's 30 teams right now, so you need to expand with 2. And I would think if they're going to expand, it's going to be Nashville and it's going to be Vegas because you have a West Coast team and kind of like somewhat of an East Coast team, Midwest for Nashville. And then I think, unfortunately, there's a third option. Raleigh, Carolina would be a good option, but I don't think you could do 3. You're either doing 2 or you're either doing 2 or 6 is what you're doing. So if they're ever going to expand, Nashville and Vegas, I think would be 1 and 2 on the list.
Yeah, I just think it'd be nice if Indiana could get more professional teams because they'd have just the Pacers.
Colts.
Yeah, they don't have a hockey or a baseball team.
Yeah.
Which are they only or what? Alabama, they don't have any, do they?
They have the Birmingham whatevers of the USFL.
But they have no professional teams.
I mean, I think they're fine with the University of Alabama.
Well, yeah. I was trying to think of other states that don't have any.
Yeah, I mean, it's been proven to work out. You look at Nevada getting football and hockey.
Players of the week?
Yeah, I went with Jose Ramirez, the Cleveland Guardians. Didn't look up his stats in-depthly. I just know that – well, I looked up his stats, but I don't know – I didn't write his stats down like you did for yours, but his average went from like 320 to like 470 or something, so –
I did almost pick him. I looked up his stats. I went another way.
Yeah, I didn't want to seem too biased given my background behind me. So
I wasn't even biased. I mean, his slugging percentage right now is through the roof. In the last 7 days, he's 7 for 18, 5 runs, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and 4 walks.
I mean, he had a hit in every single game until the Marlins game Tuesday. So great start to the season for him. NHL.
Yeah.
That's where we go next. Quick note here. Jonathan Hubert of the Florida Panthers, the best team, second best team in the NHL, I guess. I think Colorado's probably the best. He passes Connor McDavid for the NHL lead in points with 111. A couple weeks ago in the season, might have a new winner of the scoring title. So we'll see. Hubert had 2 or 3 points tonight. So, yeah, he's 1 point ahead of McDavid.
And this was a shock because at one point we had it between McDavid and
Matthews is up there. Draisaitl is up there.
But I think for the longest time we thought it was going to be between McDavid and Matthews.
So the top 8 right now is Huberto, McDavid, Johnny Gaudreau, Leon Draisaitl, Austin Matthews, Matthew Tkachuk, Mitch Marner, and Kirill Kaprizov. He's the top 8 right now.
But which one got hurt? Was it McDavid that got hurt or Matthews?
Matthews is hurt. Yeah, Austin Matthews has 58 goals in 70 games. And unless he doesn't play another game this season and Draisaitl gets a bunch more goals, the Rocket Richard will be going to Austin Matthews. So, yeah.
In the East, you have every team has clinched their playoff berth. The only thing is now is just seeding based. Currently, it's the Panthers, Hurricanes, Maple Leafs, Rangers, Lightning, Bruins, Penguins, Capitals, And then in the West, you only have 4 teams that have clinched so far, which is the Avalanche, who have also clinched the best record in the league.
Mm-hmm.
The Flames, the Wild, and the Blues, which those 3 just keep bouncing around because they're so close in points on seeding. And then you have the Oilers, Predators, Stars, and Kings, who have yet to clinch, but all the teams below them basically need those teams to lose out and not play in overtime.
So as of right now, the matchups would be in the West, it'd be Minnesota versus St. Louis, Edmonton versus LA, Colorado versus Dallas, and Calgary versus Nashville will be the matchups in the West. In the East, it would be Toronto versus Tampa Bay, New York Rangers against Pittsburgh. It would be Florida against Washington and Carolina against Boston. So there you go. Those are the matchups as of right now. Still a couple.
How does that work out there?
So it's Central Division number 2 versus number 3. It's 2 versus 3 in every single division.
And it's not by the conference; it's by the division.
Yeah, which is what makes it stupid. But it's like the number 1 team in the West is Colorado, so they'll play the second wild card, which would be Dallas. Number 2 team is Calgary. They'll play the first wild card, which is Nashville. And then 2 versus 3, Edmonton, LA, St. Louis, Minnesota play each other. So, and then the winners of the 2 versus 3 play the winner of the. So like Colorado, Dallas. If Colorado wins, they'll play the winner of Minnesota, St. Louis in round 2. So. Yeah, it's kind of a dumb format, but what can you do? College football note here.
Yeah, a little former Alabama wide receiver. I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name. I'm just going to go Iga.
I mean, I don't think any of us know that.
Ige Hall. He didn't play much last year as a freshman. He was the number 3rd ranked wide receiver in the 2021 class. I believe it was last month he was suspended or reprimanded from Saban for something to do with team protocols. He's now transferring to Texas to go to Sarkisian, who was also a big part of his recruiting to begin with. And I believe he's a Texas guy.
Huh. I mean, we'll see how this works out for him.
I mean, he's the one who came in when Jameson got hurt in the national championship, who had a couple good catches and then a couple horrible drops. He's the one who dropped the touchdown.
Yeah. Yep, he's gone.
And before we get into betting, I had to give a little shout out to the Monmouth Fighting Scots. I went today. My friend Alexa's the head coach her first year, and they were playing at Illinois College. First game of the doubleheader goes into the 12th inning. The top of the 12th, bases loaded. They get a strikeout, pop up to the infield. IC comes in, loads the bases, hit a walk-off single to right.
Big win.
Second game, get up early. IC comes back, ties it. They call the game because of darkness because Illinois College softball field does not have lights.
That's questionable.
I even drove around the campus when I left. Baseball field has lights. Football field's got lights. Softball field, no lights. And it was going into the 9th. And they might possibly have to make the drive down next week to play an inning or more for conference seating.
I mean, that's weird.
And it's like a 3-hour drive. So they could have to make a 3-hour drive to play one inning. and then turn back around and have a 3-hour bus ride home.
That's something for sure. That's weird.
I mean, it could all possibly depend on the early games or the games the rest of the week and over the weekend where that seating might not matter, that second game.
We will see. All right, let's do the picks. Last week for me, 4-1 in Major League Baseball, 2-0 in the NBA, 0-2 in the NHL, and then I did have Spieth to win, so I got that one.
2-3 in baseball, 2-0 in the NBA, 1-1 in hockey, and I had Patrick Cantlay top 10. Other than that, I had Cameron Smith and Dustin Johnson didn't make the cut. Sung J M shot 8 under, tied 21st, and Morikawa shot 7 under, tied 26th.
All right.
There was a couple of good days there from some of the guys. Cantlay missed a couple putts late in the 4th round that killed him.
True. All right, the Zurich Classic of New Orleans, TPC Louisiana. Who you got?
My 3 win picks are Hovland and Morikawa plus 650, Cantlay and Schauffele at plus 800, and a little Brown Kisner, friend of the show, plus 9,000.
Yeah, didn't pick Kiz this week. Rough week last week, but hopefully bounces back. I went Cantlay and Schauffele plus 800. Taylor Gooch and Max Homa, friend of the show, Max Homa, plus 2,200.
I did
and
look
then
at him.
Harold Varner III and Bubba Watson plus 2,500. Now, Gooch has been playing some great golf, so that's a big reason why I went with him, but also Max Homa, friend of the show, made the cut at the Masters, not a big deal. Top 5, top 10.
Top 5, I took Tommy Fleetwood, Sergio Garcia at plus 330. And then top 10, I took Varner the third and Bubba Watson at plus 210. 2 Jordan guys.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Varner just came off a great round at the RBC.
54-hole leader, so.
I shot 10 under in round 4.
Something like that. So I went with hopeful layups here. Top 5, Hovland Morikawa plus 150, and top 10, Ryan Palmer, Scotty Scheffler plus 100. So both of those are going to hit, I'm pretty sure. So that's an easy one there. Even though,
Here he was trying to get his little gimme picks in.
I thought I had a couple last week. I thought Joaquin Niemann top 10 was a shoe-in, and he finished 12th. But, there you go. Major League Baseball Wednesday picks.
I got the Athletics minus 135 over the Orioles, the Yankees minus 170 over Detroit, the Padres minus 195 over the Reds. Should be a gimme game. Mets minus 110 over the Giants. Actually, I think that's the Mets. It's the Mets plus 110, I believe. And then the Mariners minus 150 over the Rangers.
All right, I'm going Brewers minus 240 against the Pirates, Phillies minus 120 at the Rockies, Red Sox plus 115 against the Blue Jays, Giants minus 110 at the Mets, and Royals plus 130 against the Twins. All right.
Yeah, we only picked one of the same games this week.
There we go. We're back.
And, of course, you had to do it against me.
What can you do? NHL Wednesday picks.
I got Washington plus 110 over Vegas. That kind of surprised me that Washington was the underdog. And then Chicago minus 175 over Arizona. There's kind of my layup, but it's probably going to bite me in the ass.
It could. The Blackhawks are not good, but we'll see.
Neither's Arizona.
Blackhawks might be as bad. Stars plus 135 at the Oilers is my first one. And then Vegas is desperate. So I'm going to take Vegas minus 130 against the Capitals. They're desperate. They need wins. The Capitals don't.
All the hockey games, you had to pick. We only picked 2, and you always got to pick one of the same.
What can you do? NBA playoffs.
I have the Nets plus 3.5. Don't know if they're going to win the game, but I think it's going to be another close battle like game 1. And then I took the Bulls plus 10 over the Bucks. They're definitely not winning, but I don't think they lose by more than 10.
I would agree. I
wish we would have seen it earlier where there were Thursday's game as well. Maybe we could have picked either maybe both Wednesday and Thursday games, or split, done one Wednesday and one Thursday?
I have the same picks in the NBA as you for that, Nets and Bulls. So those are easy ones there. But anyway, that'll do it for us. We will be back next Wednesday. Lots to cover, the NFL draft next Wednesday and all that stuff. So we'll see you then. Number 16.